Welcome. This webinar is on time-based reporting. My name is Tammy Frame, and we're going to be talking today about Zula Analytics, which is a product that we resell. And we'll talk a little bit more about what its capabilities are later. As I said, my name is Dr. Tammy Frame. I'm the Chief Education Officer of eClass for Learning. Here's my contact information. If you are unable to join us today live, feel free to get in touch with me and answer or ask any questions that you might not have had a chance to ask, and I'd be happy to answer those. eClass for Learning is a full solution e-learning provider, and these are the solutions that we offer our clients. We have several LMS solutions we support. We do course development. We do a fantastic job of onboarding and support of our clients. And today we'll be talking about advanced reporting and analytics services. We can create e-commerce. We do LMS hosting. We can do systems integration and customizations to your LMS as well. Great. We're using Zoom today as our webinar platform. So if you have a question and you're here live, please feel free to put it in the chat and I'd be happy to answer those. I always think that it makes the webinar a little more lively and fun when you do that. Okay, so let's get started and talk a little bit about what is Zula. So Zula is an advanced reporting and analytics program that works with Moodle and Totara. And here are some of the cool things that it allows you to do. And I'll demo this live in a little bit. It allows you to embed reports and dashboards on any page in Moodle or Totara. You can automate the delivery of reports and dashboards to anyone's inbox. You can combine multiple sources of data into one report. So if you're using XAPI, LRS, Salesforce, any of those things, it can combine it like a data warehouse. It can measure engagement, time spent learning, return on investment, and things like that as well, and get you those analytics that you might need. You can create these interactive reports and dashboards using a drag and drop, or you can use one of the hundreds of ready-made templates in the program as well. All right, so let's get into it. I think when looking at reports, I really enjoy working with reports a lot. It helps to start with a question that you're trying to answer. And that can help generate a report. So in getting ready for this webinar, I thought of several time-based questions that clients have come to me with, and I'm just going to show you some reports that I was able to generate through Zula that answered these. So maybe the first one is a basic one. How much time has an individual learner in your system spent learning? Okay, and this is one that I just made. I was able to drag and drop the name that I wanted to know, the number of courses a student was enrolled in, the number of visits, the time spent, and the date of the last visit. And how this might be useful, I also sorted this from Z to A, so users that were using the system the most to the least. From the top users, what you might want to do is help motivate learners by perhaps giving an incentive. You could give a gift card to some of your top learners, or at a review, congratulate them for that, or recognize them in some way, maybe publicly in a positive way. But it's also helpful data to know who's at the bottom, who might be at risk of not meeting their goals or continually learning. and trying to intervene and help those students out too, and seeing who isn't spending a lot of time learning might be helpful as well to you. So that's a very simple report that I created with drag and drop in Zula. Then I took another drag and drop and I grouped them. So in this one, I just, I had a grouping so that I wanted a little more data. And this one is by activity. So I have, the first column is by user. And so these are all of the courses that the user has been engaged in. And then even I went a level deeper and I dragged in the names of the activities in that course that the learner has engaged in, what type of thing it is. So this one's been a lot of SCORM or a face-to-face seminar or a survey or a certificate, and then how much time was spent on each of those. So this gives me a little bit more in-depth analysis. And again, I just was able to drag and drop these in. All right, another question that I brainstormed for the webinar: how much time have learners spent learning in your course? So maybe this is from an instructor perspective, and you want to know how much time are my learners spending? How much time is it taking them to do things? So this actually comes from a ready-made dashboard in Zula, and it's a time spent learning. And so first of all, it shows by my course the different months and how much the learners are spending. And then I also have another report down here that gives me by the user the course category, the course, and the time spent learning. That could be another one of time spent learning. And it could be filtered by course or category or department or manager. There's lots of ways that this can be sorted as well. Okay, here's another one that I thought was really interesting. First of all, this is the back end of what Zula looks like, and I'll talk about that later when I demo how I create reports live. And you have a variety of chart types that you can choose. So this is a bubble chart. And across the top, what you do is you have different data sources you select that have different fields, and then you can just drag them in. So for this one, course ID, course total time, and activity total time was dragged in, and then the course. Okay, so here we've got course ID, and then we've got the time, and then the bigger the bubble, the more people have fit there. So that one's kind of a fun one to show too. So these are the fields you can drag in. These are the measures where different calculations are going on. And then you can have filters going on here. So if you wanted it by course, category, department, you could do that as well. Okay, here's another dashboard. It's called the Time Spent Learning Advanced Dashboard. And it shows by course how much each learner is spending. And then over here, we have even by module within a course, how much time they're spending. And then total time spent learning in all courses by month. So maybe your program administrator wants to see something like that for engagement. So the dashboards are kind of fun in Zula. What can happen is you can find reports that you're interested in and snap them together and drag them sort of like widgets and create a dashboard that can show up in the LMS. You can also have it scheduled, and this whole dashboard can be emailed to anybody that you want it to go to, and you can even schedule that at certain intervals to be sent out if you want to. And we'll talk, I'll demo that a little bit later too. Hey, do you want to see how much time learners spent on different activities in your course? Okay, so again, this is one that I created custom. I grabbed the different activity types, and then I had the course and then the actual time spent. And so that was real easy to do, and it gave me some info on that. Here's another question I came up with. Do you know what days and times of usage are heaviest on your site? So maybe you're a site administrator, and maybe that's helpful for knowing when you need to have more tech support available, and when the usage is heaviest, and when students might be asking questions. So in this one, it's another dashboard. This is a pre-built dashboard in Zula that you can use or modify. It's for the instructor. It's called the Instructor Dashboard, and you can pull down your course. You can get some overall stats, so you can see who's enrolled, how many users are active, how many have completed it, what's your percentage of completion for the overall, what's the average grade. You can see a quick donut pie chart. And then over here, I think this is very helpful analytic. Users who have not accessed the course in the last 7 days. So then you might intervene with a phone call or an email and just see what's going on. And then this heat map shows when the heaviest usage is, what times, what dates. So it seems like Fridays, Thursdays, Wednesdays, later at night. Okay, so you might need to have tech support or people available to help answer questions in that time frame, and not so much during the day, perhaps when people are working. So that's helpful data to have as well. Do you need to correlate time spent learning to student achievement? I think this one is a really interesting question. So I created a quick one with dragging and drop, where I picked, this is actually a cross-tab table, and I have the users across the top. And then I wanted to know in their courses, how much time did they spend, what was the maximum grade of that course, and what was their final grade. So that's one that I made. I think I have another picture too of that maybe coming up. Let's see. We'll see if that comes up. Oh, okay. This is in the wrong order. So in this one, what we have is a bubble chart again that correlates the time spent and the grade. So you can see from this chart that the majority of students seem to have spent around an average of 2.5 hours and gotten a grade between 75 and 90. However, everyone who scored above a 90% spent above 2.5 hours. So that's kind of an interesting data to have, and even to show students that the time does correlate to higher grades. Okay, I think that might be my last slide. So those are some examples of some reports that you can pull based on time. And now I'm going to show you in the system how Zula works and make a report live so that you can kind of see how easy it is to do. So once you're in your dashboard here, I've added a block called Launch Zula, and you can have this only available to, there's a role that will show up in your Moodle or Totara when you have Zula installed, like a Zula administrator, and then you can say for this block, this is the only people that should see this, okay, because you probably don't want everybody to have access. So I will click Launch Zula, and it has single sign-on, and it should load. And then here's recently reports that I've been working on. An ad hoc view are ones that sort of like your play area, where you can be dragging and dropping and creating and trying things out. once you publish them, they become reports. And reports can then be added to your dashboards and blocks in your LMS. They can be scheduled. They can also be dragged into dashboards. And dashboards are those groupings of reports that we've shown before. So let's go to the ad hoc. And first of all, I'll just show you, these are all of the reports. There are hundreds of them that you can play with. But let's go back and create our own from scratch, because that's equally easy to do. So now I hit create. And the first thing it wants to know is, what data source do you want to use? So I want to use one today that has some time in it. And I'm going to use certificate and grades data source. And I'm going to choose that data. Okay, so then I can look under these different fields and see if I want to grab them from my report. And so here are some fields that have to do with course information. Course status, like is it complete, groupings, items, and so things about the final grade, the grade maximum, what was graded, if there was a certificate attached, the activities, and then time spent on different things, okay? And then for the user, there's all kinds of things about from their profile, their first name, their last name, their position, whether they're active users, all kinds of things that you could pull there. So here, like who their manager is, what department they're in, things of that nature too. So I would like information about courses. I don't have students and groups, so I'm not going to grab that. I do want these time tracking things, so I'm going to grab items, and I'm going to grab all of the user stuff too. So let's just go there and grab that. So that's what it's going to grab for me from the database, and I'm going to go OK. Now we can start playing, and it is fun. And let's see what we've got. I think the first thing I want is the user's name, so I'm going to put that there. And then let's take the course name next. So it's up here. And then let's take let's go down to some of the measures down here under items. I find this really interesting. So let's take their final grade. And let's take their time spent. Yeah, that they spent in the course. Okay. So right now we're just doing sample data. If we wanted to grab all of the data, we could do that too. And one thing that I'm seeing that I don't like is how the time spent is displaying. That might be seconds or minutes. And so I can change that. And these measures are really nice to work with. So I'm going to create a calculated measure. And I'm going to pick one that I use a lot for time reports called format time, I believe it's called. Here it is, format time. And then what we have to do is say we're going to format what field. And so then I have to pick which one. And I want to do the time spent one, because I want to convert that to a more, and over here it says it'll change it to hours, minutes, and seconds. So this stuff is pre-built for me. I don't have to program it. Now I can see if that's going to work. It said, yep, that's a valid function, and I can create my measure. One thing I should have probably done is named it. Right now it's just called new measure, but we'll leave it like that. And I can drag it up here. And then From here, now it's in hours, minutes, seconds. And now I don't really need time spent in the seconds. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Here's some other things that I can do. I can name it. So I'm going to call this practice report Tammy, so we can find it later. If I wanted to group some of the data, like notice all of these have to do with admin user, it's probably alphabetical, and then it goes to Floyd. If I wanted to group it all by me, I could grab this and put it in the grouping category. Now it has Abby Gross as all of hers, and then it's grouped that way. Another grouping, let's do it by course. Let's try that. Not sure what our error was, but anyway, now I have the course and I have the users, and then that were in that course and how much time they spent. So it is really easy to play with. If I wanted to filter by something, let's say I wanted to filter by course, I can create a filter over here, and then let's say I only wanted ones with blended. Then I click apply, and it should filter for me. And then that filter will come with to the LMS as well when we embed it. So let's say we do want to put this in the LMS next. We can save it, and we can save ad hoc view, and I will call this Tammy practice time, and then we have to add it to the ad hoc area. Okay, and then over here we'll add this to practice time report, and I'm going to put this as Tammy, and we'll put that in the reports area, and then I'm going to save it, and boom. Okay, so now let's go back to our LMS, and this has single sign-on, so it'll take me right back. And let's add this to the LMS next. And it's logging me out of Zula. And now I'm in here. So I'm in Totara, and I can have several dashboards. I'm gonna go to the My Learning dashboard. And I'm gonna turn the blocks editing on. And I'm using Totara 12, by the way. So it has this new sleek look for blocks. And we'll put in Zula. And I'm going to add a Zula report in a block. And my block should be added. And it's not configured yet, so I'm going to configure my block. And we can name it. So I could put test. And then I want it to fill the block. So I'm going to click those two. And then let's just see if we can find it. I think it's right here already. And then we'll go to add. And that's going to go into the block. And then I can also restrict who's going to see that. And I can pick out what users or what audiences and where it's going to appear. So I'm going to save the changes. It might take just a minute or two to load the first time. We'll give it a second. I've been asking a lot. So there's my block. And you can also embed dashboards and schedule these too, and we'll schedule one next. So here, when I was practicing before is one, here's another one. Here is mine, okay? And what do I have for options here? Oh, okay, so it's got the filter, and if I wanted to filter by something else, I could. Up here, if it's made in such a way that it can be graphed, here we can pick a different graph type. So that's kind of fun too. Okay, let's talk next about scheduling a report. And so for that, we have to go back to Zula. So I'll launch Zula again. And this time, I'm going to go to my reports. And let's say I want to schedule this one. I right-click on it and go to Schedule. And we create the schedule. And I can say, let's say I want this on the 15th of every month. So I'll say the 15th. And then I pick my time zone, Central Time. And how often do I want this? I'm going to say every month on a selected date. I'm going to say the 15th. And we'll say at 1 o'clock. And I don't care about holidays, so I'll hit save. I need to name it. So then it appears in my dashboards of scheduled reports. The next thing that I need to do is edit it. And from here, we scheduled it. I didn't really finish the parameters. So this is how we would filter it. So I want all of those categories. We'll just say I want everything. But I could filter by any of these things, assignments, grading incidents. And so I have all these filters that I can choose. And I'll just say I want it all. Whoops. And then the output options is next thing that I can pick. So I can say if I want it as a PDF, if I want it as an Excel, a PowerPoint, and so on. And then last is notifications. And so I can put the email here when it runs and send a report to these people, and then send, if you want to know that it ran, maybe to yourself or if it failed. And then it says, how do you want to do this? Like an HTML in the body? Do you want it as a zipped up folder? Do you want attachments? And then you can write your message as well. So very cool for reporting. So I hope this was a great little tour of Zula. It's a fantastic tool. We've been having a lot of success with our clients to get out the reports. Today we just looked at the time tracking, which is a popular feature in it, but there is many, many more reports that you can generate with it. If you would like more information, please let me know, and we can work on some test reports on things you want to see and work with you to kind of demo how this could be used to get better data and reports out of your LMS. Thanks so much for joining us.